All right, everyone. For those who work in a cubicle environment, or I guess like there's a new kind of setup. Instead of cubicles, you have an open office space and sort of arrange it into little clusters for people to work in. Apparently, it's very annoying even if it's space efficient. Panasonic has you covered though, because otherwise your drone workers are going to be looking at each other, and with the era of microaggressions, that's a big problem. Also, they'll get distracted, and sometimes like there's noise and lights, and they don't want to be distracted. They just want to focus in. They want to focus on one thing and one thing only, which is what they're doing, because they're getting more and more antisocial, because you're trying to force them into an open social situation. Most people don't like that. Panasonic has you covered. They can sell you horse blinders for humans. I wish that this were a joke. I wish that when I first saw this article, I was like, oh, this is a 4chan joke. This is a joke about social justice warriors. It's a joke about office culture. That like Scott Adams made this joke or something. No, it's actually real. Link in the description, unfortunately. Basically what these are is noise-canceling wraparound sort of things that you wear that keep you focused on what you're looking at. So make sure to do your fucking work because it's so important. You know, those numbers you're crunching about, fucking the number of wine labels you printed in a day. The world would stop working altogether if you didn't do that job. This is exactly why I couldn't be part of like an office culture, like the middle management sort of mid-white collar jobs, sort of like the Dilbert stuff. It's it looks pretty soul crushing. For every other sitcom or comedy show. You think of The Office or something. We have someone who's like work a day and that can lead to comedic situations. Increasingly, it's not really comedic at all. By the way, this is sort of like a new Gilded Age that we've entered into. This is the sort of a common practice in Silicon Valley. Some of the tech firms and stuff, and people associated with them, engineering firms, anything related to computing through a step of separation. What's happened is we've got a new Gilded Age. We've got the same intimidation tactics. Silicon Valley tries to deperson people who stand against it. They've bought out chunks of the media, explicitly in some cases. The Washington Post is owned by Bezos, right? Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to expose Amazon's next scandal. It's really going to happen, dude. So that's, we're part of a Gilded Age. What else was happening during the Gilded Age? Oh, that's right, mistreatment of workers. And meanwhile, the left, which loves these companies and loves their censorship, by the way, Razorfist possibly banned off of Twitter. No word yet whether he's been banned or simply closed his account in a bitter rage at how shitty Twitter has become. It's much like the Gilded Age. You remember, I can't remember the name of the story. There was that one story about that girl who, her family was poor and she ends up working in a factory and, dying of a lung problem because she's working in the linen factory and there's, shit everywhere. And it was very, sad, and it was sort of a Gilded Age era work, sort of a gilded through Victorian era work about child labor and stuff. You have The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, very good work as well. Vonnegut wrote some works, sort of ruminating on this era of time. Extremely good literature, you should definitely look it up. But this is basically similar. It's like, instead of fixing the problem of the workspace being shitty, instead of fixing the problem of attempting to squeeze every last drop of efficiency and doing so actually at the expense of efficiency, when workers get distracted, when basically they're uncomfortable because they don't even have their own little space to work in where it can block out some of the noise, let's sell them an overpriced piece of noise-canceling bullshit from Panasonic in order to help them do their soulless job. Basically, they only care about efficiency, and I guess the idea is when that worker finally gets fucked and has to leave or something, you can just reuse the noise-canceling horse blinders that you've given them. Like, hey, you can have these until you stop working for us because you get, chronic eye problems and have to retire early because of the blinding fluorescent lights you're working under all day. That's basically how it works. I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook buys up thousands of these for its lower-level workers. When you talk about the wonderful campuses, they always call them, instead of workspaces or factory floors or whatever, that when you go to campuses of Silicon Valley, those smiling faces that you see are all the six-figure people. Those are the people who are at least at the upper tier of management or in one of the most important departments. You don't get to see all the little laborers at night when the janitors have to scurry out and clean up after those pigs. It's probably a different story. And they'll be wearing Panasonic horse blinders. Next, they'll have Panasonic shoes as well. Oh, we decided it was more efficient to make the floor out of glass. People started slipping and falling and trying to sue us, so now we've got Panasonic sticky shoes. It's based on gecko foot technology. I wouldn't be surprised. Because when you're talking about this sort of apparatus, corporatism, there is no soul. And this is exactly what I've said with regards to censorship. People are expecting these groups to be moral actors. They can't be moral actors. They will inevitably seek to squeeze every last penny out of everything that they can. They will inevitably attempt to get as much for as little effort as possible. So that means that an open office sort of situation, they don't have to buy cubicles. The hell, don't even buy chairs. People can fucking sit on the floor. Just have a flush carpet or something like that. Just sit on the fucking floor. Tables, what are those? We have one table in the middle of the room for in case you really need it. We don't, no. Fucking inscribe things on rocks. It's more efficient. You can just get them out by the river. It's more efficient than buying you a new laptop. Here, use this computer from 20 years ago. No, they don't go that draconian. They want all the new toys. That's the thing. It's sort of like in a work environment. It demoralizes people. Sort of like, in a blue-collar environment. Automotive garage or something. It's like, people arguing over what radio station to put it on. Or in a restaurant or something, you end up having to, rotate or whatever. It's wonderful that people have headphones, but this is a little bit different now. It'd be funny if they were putting, their musical headphones underneath it, but they're probably not allowed to use those at work. You could have solved this problem by saying, okay, as long as it doesn't harm your individual productivity, go ahead and put your headphones on and fucking listen to Mozart or Slayer or whatever. That would have solved the problem as well. Or, here's a novel idea. Instead of trying to, soul crush all of your workers into oblivion and render them into literal cogs, you could bring back cubicles which were soulless enough from the get-go. You could do that. They're not exactly expensive. They're well within the budget. You're thinking of the businesses that are employing this. You're working with multi-million-dollar budgets. A handful of cubicles for your workers to have a little bit of space, even if it's extremely cramped. It's like a 5x5 fucking area. I wouldn't think is too difficult. Schools do it. They manage to buy what amounts to cubicles and shit. So yeah, welcome to the new soul-crushing dystopia where you will literally wear horse blinders if you're working in an office environment because, hey, it's cheaper. $60 for this versus we bought you a cubicle and our rent is a little bit higher. Yeah, we're going to squeeze every little bit of blood and productivity out of you drones as we can. Fucking get used to it, prole. That's about all. Peace out.